Shane Howeth is the 2024 full bore national champion, which is a new format. I don't know if we should call it a new format because full bore is not new. It's just simply, they just decided to have a nationals for it, which they had never had a full bore national. So they had the first one in Colorado in 2024 in the summer. What was it, in July, mid-July,
20th or so.
So first one ever. And you decided to show up and win that thing. Congratulations.
I was fortunate. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So you haven't been shooting long. How long have you been shooting?
Well, F class, I've only been shooting 2.5 years or so.
Yeah.
I've been, around firearms all my life and deer hunting and all that, reloading on a more elementary level for hunting applications and what have you, but really started the F class couple, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. So what kind of got you into F class?
Honestly, you did.
Thank you.
I was watching, just watching YouTube, and I stumbled across your channel and got to watching it. And I think you guys were out in Raton, and I got to watching it, and you were describing F class and what it is. And I thought, man, that looks pretty cool. I need to see if I can, see if there's something like that around here in my area. So I did, and did some searching and found there's a little 300-yard F class match here in Fort Smith, which is kind of in my backyard. And so I reached out to the match director, Lee Kubicki there, and he got back with me and was very gracious and invited me to, come out to the match. So I did, and I showed up with a 220 Swift varmint rifle, and, obviously didn't do real well, but saw what the other guys were using and the equipment and what have you, and I thought, I like this. I need to build me one of those. And so I did, and actually started an FTR, built a TR gun, and started just competing at the little local match. And that's where I actually met Norm. He and Tracy showed up one day, and I remember John Crockett, who's a local there, a mainstay at that match. He said, "Man, Norm and Tracy are here. You guys better bring their A game. You better bring your A game because they always do." And I thought, okay, these guys sound, like they're pretty serious about it. I didn't know who they were. And anyway, we shot the match, and afterwards we all normally go out to eat, and we all went out to eat together, and we got to talking and just kind of buddied up. He kind of took me under his wing and started helping me out. And so that's kind of how my F class career got started.
Well, that's not a bad start. If you can get Norm Harrell to help you.
Absolutely. I was a couple of weeks later, I guess I was watching your channel, and you were interviewing him when he set the national record out in Raton. I thought, holy crap, that's the guy I just met.
Yeah. Not only are they good shooters, they're really good people, which helps.
Absolutely. I mean, it's, he and I have become really good friends. He's one of my dearest friends in this world at this point. So very thankful.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, him and Tracy, really, really good people. Now, I know that was a very simplistic answer. I showed up to a match. I met a national champion. He took me in his wing, and now I'm a national champion. It's not. I kind of want to, and that's where I kind of wish I had Norm on so that I could tell us what he saw in you that made him want to help you. Because I'm sure he's got a million people. I mean, who wouldn't want to be coached by Norm Harrell, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And not just Norm. There's a lot of top-level national champions, successful F-class shooters that any of the newbies would be lucky to have as a mentor, right? And
right.
I'd like to kind of hear from Norm to see, like, what does it take? So, maybe from your point of view, what did you do? Maybe if Norm maybe has told you why he decided to help you.
He really hasn't. He really hasn't. But I've got to think that I mean, I've put the work in, and maybe he saw that in me. I mean, I grew up on the farm in New York, Texas. Where I learned at a young age the value of hard work and determination and, faith and family. And, that's just the way we live life down there. So anytime that I embark upon a new endeavor, I just, I pour myself into it and use that same work ethic, that I learned as a young man growing up around my family there.
It's really easy to help somebody who's putting in the work. I've helped a few shooters myself, and I mean, I'm going to speak from my experience, from my point of view. When I'm trying to help somebody and they are absolutely, number one, listening to what I have to say, and number two, going out and trying it for themselves. And it's really easy for me to find out if they're trying it for themselves based on the follow-up questions that they have,
Right.
So obviously it becomes a joy because it's now, Norm is winning through you, right? Like he knows that his blueprint, what I like to call the blueprint, works not only for himself, but it works for you. So obviously you said you were talking, you were shooting FTR. At some point you had to convert over to F Open because that's what Norm shoots.
Yeah.
Is that why you converted?
Yeah, I got tired of being called a knuckle dragger by him. When are you going to come over from the dark side? So I had been, ultimately that's where I wanted to be, but he did a lot of convincing for me, and that was, you're right. I mean, he did make the statement to me one day that he said, "Hey, I can't help you a lot if you're shooting TR. If you come over and start shooting open, I know that game. I can be a lot more value to you there." So, obviously, when a guy of that caliber says he's willing to help you, you just got to make a switch for him to be able to. I'd have been an idiot not to make the transition at that point.
Right. I mean, FTR is indeed a different game. I get a lot of people asking me to help them, and I'm like, hell, forget FTR. Just a different cartridge than what I'm shooting is already different enough that it's hard to help somebody.
Right.
There's similarities, but it's still different. So you move over to the F Open game. What was your first cartridge, first rifle that you built?
Straight 284, and I actually didn't build that one. He had his teammate at the time, Keith Glasscock, was looking to get rid of one of his rifles, and he said, "Hey, I've shot this rifle. It's a good one. He's letting it go at a good deal," and he was. And so I scooped it up from him and started shooting that rifle. And it did well. I still shoot it to this day, but I've built other ones that have competed as well. But this is just a straight 284.
That's a simple recipe, man. The 284 is, and now it's kind of looked down upon simply because it's kind of the Magnum craze. But
yeah,
that 284 is really hard to beat. 284 Shaheen, they're just simple.
Yeah, I mean, I shot the 284 for a while, and then started. I mean, the barrel had a lot of rounds on it, so I almost immediately had a reamer built for a Shaheen and started shooting a Shaheen at that point, because obviously Norm knows how to tune one of those, and he helped me a bunch get that going. But did that, and then the PRC craze hit, so I developed my own version of that one, reamer for it, and started using it, and that's ultimately what I started having a little bit of success with. By that time, I'd been shooting, year and a half or so, and kind of getting my, feet wet, getting my bearings, learning how to, try to read the wind and conditions, and just, go through the normal motions that you need to go through as an F-class shooter to be competitive. And that's when it kind of just started. Just continued to work. Again, I'm not afraid of putting the work in. And that's when things started happening, a club match or two here or there. Started earlier this year. We, my former teammate and I were fortunate enough, John Gerges was fortunate enough to win the 4-state 2-man. And then, a few other things during the year. And then obviously the big one in Colorado went my way.
You didn't gain that much speed over the Shehane with that PRCW, did you?
No, not really, because maybe 50 feet per second or so. Because I didn't push the PRC that hard. I tried to run the higher nodes, and they just didn't hold up for me. So I wound up running one of the lower ones that seemed more stable.
Now, what do you think? Do you really think the cartridge itself is what made you a better shooter, or maybe perhaps the experience that you have now and maybe just seeing things with a different light?
Oh, I absolutely think it was the latter. It was, the cartridge is just another cartridge, right? Ballistically, it's got a little bit of advantage over a 284, but yeah, I mean, it's the experience, getting your bearings, learning how to do things the right way, learning how to prepare and compete, learning how to read the conditions. That just comes with time.
Conditions, that's really what separates the winners from the also rans, right?
Yeah.
How did you go about learning how to read the wind?
I queried Norm as much as I could, but he give me bits and pieces here and there, but he just basically said, you've got to learn this on your own. You've got to go do it. And so I just tried to go do it. Go shoot at every opportunity that you can at range. We're fortunate enough to have a place that we can, shoot out to 1,000 yards here. So every opportunity to go, run a ladder or test a load or develop a new one, every time you do that, you're gaining a little bit more experience, especially at this place because it's in a river bottom and the mirage can get just horrendous. So learning how to just read those conditions by repetition, just every time you see something new, filing it away in the memory bank, just kind of gives you more of a library to work with when you go to the next match. And doing that enough times, I guess, has gotten me to the point where I can have a chance at least.
Trigger time, right? There's really no
Mm-hmm.
substitute for trigger time.
Right.
But just going out there and just shooting to shoot really doesn't get you anything. Were there any drills that you were doing? Any wind reading drills? Was there any material that you read, a book, anything, anything for the new shooters that could, that are kind of in your shoes that are saying, man, all right, this guy made it to a national champion in 2.5 years. What's out there available for the newer shooters that they could go and get their hands on?
I consumed every piece of information I possibly could have. I mean, obviously I listened to my mentor, my other fellow shooters, I listened to them, picked their brain on how they approach it. I watched every video I could. I remember John Masick talking about an app called High Power Wind Lab, and I downloaded that and just got to fiddling with it and just trying to learn, what impact a certain amount of wind has on a 180 grain bullet at 600 yards, at 1,000 yards, at 800 yards. I just tried to study that and memorize as much as I could, but then go out, combine that with going out and getting more trigger time, and not just at the local place that we can shoot, but these club matches. I mean, you can learn a lot at a club match. Even if you're not competing for a national championship, but you're learning something every time you go. And so I don't think there's any replacement for getting out there and competing at whatever level it is, because you're learning every time you do that.
Yeah, I mean, competition, not only does it teach you stuff, but it puts you under pressure, which pressure is going to force you to fall back down to your lowest level of preparation. So the more you prepare, the better off you're going to be. My mentor, Mike Downey, when I started, he said, much like life, shooting rewards preparation.
Mm-hmm.
And I always remember that because, I think the matches are won before you get to the match. At least the chance of winning happens before you get there. You have to make sure your rifle's good, your load's in tune, your barrel has, enough rounds that you have deemed it to be good enough to win, but not too many rounds that it could fall apart on you during the match, right? The bullets that you shoot, the powder, the brass, your brass prep, everything, and that takes a lot of time and effort just to make sure that it's all good enough that it can give you a chance to win. Not even guarantee you win, because that is not ever a guarantee, right?
Right. But it takes a while for everyone to come up with their own process too, and you've got to find something that works. Something that's repeatable. There's so much information out there as a new shooter. I said I tried to consume everything that I possibly could, and I did, but I also have to, filter that through the lens of, okay, that's where your mentor can be a really good guide for you to know who to listen to and what things to believe and what things not to believe. That's where a high quality mentor, I believe, can give you some shortcuts, because otherwise, if you do it on your own with trial and error, you might arrive at the same location, but it's probably going to take you longer, because you're going to go down some bunny trails that are going to lead to nowhere, and then you'll come back and try again, and then you'll eventually, process of elimination, you'll figure it out, but it may take a lot longer. So in different ranges, going to different ranges, I think that's something else that has helped. Is I committed to trying to be successful in this sport. And I don't think you do it by going to your local club match every time. You've got to get out and go to different places, because different conditions at different ranges, you'll see different things. And every time you see something new, it's something else you can file away in your mental encyclopedia to be able to use when it comes down to the point where you have something that's really at stake, or you can take advantage of.
You don't have to be successful to be learning. And a lot of shooters are very intimidated by going to different ranges, because they go, man, I'm going to get my butt handed to me. Good.
I promise you, I've got my butt handed to me a lot more than I've won.
You have to learn to lose if you want to learn. Most of my learning has come from me not winning.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you're going to do a lot more losing than you're going to do winning in this game.
Yeah, it's like baseball.
Yeah. And, if you show up to a new range and you shoot a 600 with 60 X's, you really didn't learn anything. Honestly, right? You just learned to hold center more likely. Yeah. You want to go, and windy ranges are usually intimidating. Don't be. They're going to teach you to hold way out there. Yep. And you're going to be shooting 8s and 7s. So what?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to teach you to not be afraid to move on target. Most shooters, that's the reason they miss downwind, is because they're afraid to move. They see a wind pickup and they move a quarter ring or a half a ring, because they're very intimidated, because they don't want to lose a 9 upwind. Well, guess what? A 9 upwind is the same as a 9 downwind. So
absolutely,
just move. So go to windy ranges, like purposely, like go to ranges that you're gonna get your butt handed to you, because you're gonna learn a lot. Yeah, your score is gonna be bad, but so is everybody else's.
Right.
Don't worry about it.
Yep. No, that's something I've done.
Yeah, there's ranges that you go to win, and there's ranges that you go to learn. And sometimes both happen together.
Sometimes it's just your day,
Well, you're always a match away from being a national champion, right?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Well, I mean, happened to you, happened to me, happened to everybody that's ever been a national champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was, speaking of intimidating ranges, what was that range that you went to that you were absolutely just getting hammered, and perhaps made you rethink this whole F-class game?
Probably one of the local ranges here, Red Castle Gun Club over in Oklahoma. It's a tricky range. I mean, they only shoot mostly 600 yards there, but it can be a real tricky range. It's in a draw up a canyon, and the wind does weird things as it comes over those hills and goes down into the trees and tumbles. And I've seen a lot of weird things happen over there. So that's probably one of the more challenging ranges I've shot at, honestly. Some of the bigger ones, you can kind of see conditions develop. You don't, at this particular range, you don't have all the visual cues that you may have at others that are more wide open. Speaking of intimidating, I've heard of Ben Avery all my life, and I wanted to always shoot there, and I shot my first Southwest Nationals this year, and it was a great experience, and it was intimidating getting there, but once you kind of get going, it's you can kind of see things happen on that range because it is so open.
What do you mean by you can see things happen?
Well, you can, the range is so wide that you can kind of see a condition come across the range. You can see, people you see something coming and you see, they're starting to miss downwind, or it's picking up. You can kind of see, it's easier to see trends, I guess, on a range like that for me versus one that's kind of closed in where all you have is what's right in front of you, not to the left and the right, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, well, that's a typical trick, right? You have to, that's a wind indicator, your competitors, the people you're competing against, the people next to you, so for those listening, you have to be looking at the mirage, at the flags, at your own target, but also at everybody else's targets. And it becomes pretty overwhelming at first, but once you kind of fall in the routine and things become more automatic, it just becomes a lot easier to absorb all this data. But what Shane's talking about is, at a range like Ben Avery, it's so big that if you're, let's just say, in the middle of the range or towards the downwind half of the range, you can actually, instead of just looking at the row of flags that is closest to you, you can look far to the right and you can see the flags start to build. So if you see the ones kind of close to you are kind of dipping, but then you look farther to the right and those flags are standing way out, that tells you windy conditions coming. So you have two choices: either shoot now or wait, hit the brakes. Typically the shoot now is not a good idea. Just might as well be patient unless you're running out of time. And then you can actually just use that time to start looking at the targets of the other competitors, and you'll start seeing how the ones that decided to shoot now are going to start shooting downwind, 9s, 8s, 7s, depending on how bad that push is. And you have to just be patient. You have to be patient. You have to be fast, which is sounds contradicting, but it's not, right? Because something when you're patient, you start running out of time, which is going to require that you are fast. So you have to be both. Now, fast is relative. An FTR a fast FTR shooter and a fast F open shooter are two different things. But you just have to shoot fast enough that you don't lose points based on technique, right? Like you get sloppy with the trigger, you get sloppy with the form, that all of a sudden you're just losing points because you're trying to go too fast. But yeah, you can look at the range on a big range like you talk about, and you can see the conditions just flowing your way, and it's pretty interesting when you're actually paying attention to that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shooters that are a whole lot better at that than I am. Honestly, that kind of brings one thing up that I think helped me out in Colorado is that it is pair fire, and you can't find a condition that works and shoot in it you've got to fire now. You've got 45 seconds to shoot, right? So there's a lot of, if that would have been a string fire event, I don't know that I would have won it. I really believe that, and Norm and I've had this conversation, but I do think that pair fire is kind of the great equalizer in a lot of respects, because, so many guys are so good, yourself, Norm, I mean, obviously, Jay, who won the Southwest Nationals this year. I mean, they pick the right times to shoot. That's something that I struggle with, is picking the right time to shoot. I'll usually, it seems, start too late or start too early or just pick the wrong time altogether, But when everybody has to go in the nasty conditions, you've just got to make a win call and go with it. And I honestly believe that helped me out in Colorado.
Well, sometimes when you can't pick your condition, and I say sometimes because sometimes you just absolutely lost, but whenever, obviously you were not lost, whenever you're just forced to pick a condition, it seems like you're more alert to everything. It seems like, because you're not looking for the perfect time to jump in, you just say, well, and then you look at whatever indicators you find, and then you just start to find the ones that are true to you, true to your rifle, true to your shooting lane, because shooting lane matters where you're at. And people ask all the time, hey, what were you looking at? Well, it doesn't matter. Well, it does if I'm right next to you, but if I'm on one side of the range and you're on the other, and you're asking me what I was looking at, it's totally different. It could be
apples and oranges. Yeah.
Yeah. So, whenever you're pair firing, you just have to, this is back to, you just can't be afraid to lose, because you have to make a decision. And decision after decision, that's just to stack up. And you keep making a right decision after the right, and then the confidence level starts to grow. And then you just start to almost become automatic, those decisions, right?
Right. And obviously your rifle has to hold up, your tune has to hold up and all that. But yeah, I mean, there is a degree of self-confidence that gets built as you're working through and navigating through all of that. And once you kind of get in a groove, you can kind of, work on that momentum.
So, obviously we talked about the rifle being a good one, holding tune, you being confident with the conditions, all that good stuff. However, there's another layer to this entire process, which is the mental part. Because at one point you realize, I might win this thing. You had never won a national championship. So how did that, what happened when you realized that? When people start to come to you and go, you're doing great, keep it up, you might win this thing? Because that changes. I mean, I don't know if it did for you, but typically that changes everything.
Yeah, for me, Colorado's a special place to me. We lived there for a while as a child, and so I've got a lot of good memories there. And my brother and I really like the place. We've had some great times there together, and I really just drew on my relationship with him and thought about him a lot. And I just thought, you know what, I'm in a good position. Yes, the possibility's there, but I can't think about that. I've just got to go to work. And it's, after day one, I was in, I don't know, 4th or 5th place. I was, not great, but it was, had an opportunity, right? And then day 2 comes, and I just thought, let's just go chop wood. You just got to chop wood and get out there and just go through the motions, do what I need to do on day 2. And then at the end of the day, I noticed, holy crap, I'm in the lead of this thing. And that's when it really starts to work on you. Going into the final day, you're in the lead. It's yours to lose. That's when you got to be really mentally prepared. And earlier in the year, I was shooting Sierra Cup in St. Louis, and same deal. I was in the lead going into the final day. And we get a call at 3:00 in the morning in the hotel room, my wife and I, from our neighbor, and they said, a tornado just come through. Your place is, it's not good. You got trees down. We don't know what's damaged. And so I had all that to deal with, and I'm thinking, oh, Lord, I need to get home. But I got to go shoot this match. I mean, I'm in the lead. I can't walk away from it. So I did, and I wound up dropping 2 points that I shouldn't have dropped. And I'm not taking anything away from Craig Burlett. He did a good job. He won the event, and I made sure my hand was the first one he shook, and congratulations. He did a great job. But I say all of that to say, coming back to July this year in Colorado, I thought, I'm not going to let that happen to me again. If I'm going to go to work and make sure my mind is right and just try to focus on the task at hand and not worry about the outcome. The outcome will take care of itself if I do all the steps right. And so that's what I was telling myself. And we get to the final day, and actually before the match began, Tim Vaught called me over and said, hey, let me talk to you for a minute. And, he's a pilot as well as I am. And I really appreciated him taking the time to speak to me the way he did, because he could communicate to me in terms that only another pilot could, right? I mean, he said, you're about to go fly an ILS to minimums. Don't worry about it. Just trust the process. If you shoot a 9, don't worry about it. If you shoot an 8, don't worry about it. Just trust the process and do what you know that you need to do. And that really helped, helped me focus and just be grounded and not worry about the outcome, and just get back out there, chop wood, and go to work. And that's just how I approached it, is, not checking the leaderboard after every relay and worrying about it. Just focus on the task at hand and do what you need to do. And ultimately, I guess that worked.
The process always, the process is going to be, the process is what got you to the point, right? There's no, no point in abandoning the process at that moment, right? And that's typically what people, when they fall apart, tend to do. They abandon the process. They were shooting to win, and then all of a sudden they start shooting not to lose, right? They start guarding their lead, and usually that's when things fall apart. They worry about, they hit a 9, and they start thinking, instead of saying, okay, where did the 9 come from? Oh, it's that flag over there. Instead of doing that, they go, oh no, I just felt second place. You know what I mean? And it just, the whole thing just falls apart. Well, that's good. That's good that you were able to process over performance, because the process is performance, right?
It's easy to say, but it's hard to do, because you still got all that floating around in your brain.
Well, I understand, and that's why I asked about it, because it is extremely difficult. It's like shooting the first clean ever, right? I remember I was there many times, and I'd be just pounding 10s and X's, and all of a sudden go about shot 17. I go, oh man, I'm about to shoot my first clean ever. 9, because you break your concentration, and it's just those stepping stones, right? Those that you have to just cross as you are, talk about going to the club matches and going to different ranges. You're gonna put yourself under pressure to achieve whatever goals you have, as small as they may be, but it's the achieving these goals that are going to give you the mental fortitude to tackle the next one and the next one, right? And obviously, who doesn't want to be a national champion? Well,
sure,
it takes a lot more than wind reading and a good gun. It takes being able to, number one, having a good process that you can fall back to and go,
right? Like
Tim told you, follow the process. Follow the process. Don't worry about the score. Don't worry. That's I always talk about. I never checked the leaderboard. When I was nationals, I didn't even know that I won.
Same here. I thought I'd lost it. I think I don't know if you and I shot on the final day. I can't remember if it was the last relay or the second or what, but I remember, I dropped 12 points the last day, and I thought, nah, I just gave this away. And then I go to the parking lot, and Norm comes up and hugs me, and I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, for what?
For not dropping 13.
And I said, nah, I don't know. I dropped a lot of points, man. And I come to find out, sure enough, it was. But again, it really, honest to goodness, it came to me as a surprise. I didn't think that I had gotten it done.
Well, that's why the process is important, right? Because the points really don't matter. Because just because you drop 12 doesn't mean you obviously the first thought is I just gave it away. Well, you don't know how everybody else did.
Right.
So we have this, in our head, we're so negative, right? Because we're trying to do good, right? And dropping 12 points is typically an ag killer. It's typically a championship killer, but you don't know. So don't worry about it. Just shoot your best score, shoot your process, and if you won, they'll let you know, which they did.
Yep.
But
yep.
Yeah. When I won, same thing happened to me when I won Southwest Nationals. Todd Hendricks came up to me and gave me a big hug, and it's like, man, congratulations. How does it feel? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I won. He goes, no, you won. I'm like, well, I don't know, but it's good stuff, man. It's especially, like Norm, he's being your mentor. How he was obviously watching out for you. We're having dinner the night before, and we're talking about actually when we started. Because I think I had already done the interview with Norm. I'm trying to think about timeline, but at some point Norm was talking about rookies. He goes, "Oh, there's a bunch of names that I could throw in the hat that we're gonna have to watch out for." And of course he didn't actually say it on the interview, but at dinner he threw your name out there. And sure enough, man, you won it. So it's good stuff, man. So now you're a national champion. You talked about Norm. You had questions for Norm and all that. I'm sure at the beginning there was a million questions for Norm. And then it became less and less. At what point, and even to this day, at what point do you call Norm? Because I'm sure you don't want to bug him every day, every hour of the day. But what warrants a call to Norm saying, "Hey, Norm, this"?
That's a good question. I think most of those calls have been centered around, because I'm a tinkerer. I don't like to leave anything alone. I firmly believe that if you're not moving forward, you're moving back. So I'm trying to find, the next thing, like we all are, right? It's mostly centered around those things. I'll bounce those types of things off of him. What are your thoughts about, X, Y, Z? I've got this, I've been doing it this way. What if I did this? Or just, just talking X's and O's about, reloading or process or how to approach different things. And again, I learned a lot, being on a team. I mean, having a great mentor is a very valuable asset. But, and I've heard you guys talk about this as well, but getting on a team just really, really, iron sharpens iron, right? So it really helps you as you work with your teammates and you have success individually and collectively, you learn a lot. And, the team that I was, formerly on, we had a great, relationship, and we learned a lot from each other. And
what team was that?
The team with no name.
Which you guys also won the national championship.
We did.
In Colorado. So you actually walked away with 2 national championships, individual championship and a team championship.
Right. Yeah, it was a good day for us. But those were, that was a great group of guys, and we learned a lot from each other, I think. Yeah. And my point with all that is, you talk about, what can the new shooters do? What I heard you guys talk about get a great mentor, get on a team. I'm here to tell you it works.
Yeah, team shooting. I did a live stream, and I was asked, who do I like to hang out with when I go to matches? And I'm like, well, it's my teammates. That's who I like to hang out with. They're not only my teammates, they're my friends, right? And not only my teammates. Like I like to hang out with Vitavori guys. Like Norm and Tim Bott and that Matt Basala guy, and those are all.
Who's he?
I don't know, somebody that keeps going home early at the V2 finale. But
yikes.
But these are all great people.
Yeah.
And again, that's just scratching the surface. I enjoy seeing you, and there's just a lot of other people that are just good people that are at these matches. Like you said, you met Norm there. All of a sudden, you guys are really, really good friends. It's just a great community, of people, and
right.
Everybody there, they'll help you. Whatever you're struggling, they'll give you a hand.
Right.
It's just a great community. So obviously, being on a team, 100%, get on a team. And you're not gonna get on a good team right away. Like what I mean is, don't hold out and think, oh, I might get invited by these big teams. More likely you won't, right? Because the big teams, they're full, right?
Right.
They just start your own or get together with a group of guys and put a team together. On my forum, on the forum, there's a few guys that have started shooting, and they all put their own team. They all got together and put a team together. Great, and
awesome.
I think they're learning a lot.
You bet.
By that,
it's impossible not to. When you've got a bunch of guys grouped together that are passionate about what they do, how can you not learn? It's just an environment that's conducive for moving everyone forward.
Yeah, you have 4 to 7 people on a team, sometimes more. And team doesn't mean you guys get together and shoot. Team means you guys get together and share load data, share testing that you've done. So now you have 7 data, sets of data of whatever, for example, hey, I'm going to test this new powder. Oh, guys, it's really working out really good for me. Well, let me test it. Now you have 7 people that can test that, right? And you guys can maybe a bullet or reamer, you name it, right?
Whatever,
it just becomes
all the X's and the O's.
Right. Or one, forget the good stuff, the bad stuff too. Hey guys, I tried this. I went to a match. It absolutely fell apart. Oh, good to know. Now we don't have to do that. And now we don't all have to go through that. Right. So it's just a lot of learning, good and bad, but it's just moving forward in this journey. Now, you said you were formerly on that team. Are you on a different team, or are you just done with team shooting?
No, I actually got invited to join Team Vitavori. So I guess I'm the newest member of Norm's team.
Oh, look at you. Well, congrats. Talking about getting invited to the big teams. Well, there you go. Yeah. Hard to say no to that.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. That means you got to be teammates with that Basala guy now. Oh, my God. Well, I feel for you. Yeah. Who?
I'll get over that.
Yeah. Well, that again, that's a powerhouse of a team. And, talk about learning opportunities, right? You went from Norm being your mentor. Now you talked about Tim Vaught on the team. You got Doug Skogman. You got Brandon Swar, Tracy, Wen. Can't think of who else on the team.
Matt.
Anyway, who?
No,
anyway.
it's a.
But
it's a great group of shooters, and I'm honored to be honored.
Let me do the math right quick. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 4 national champions, 5 including you. That's 5 national champions on one team.
Yeah,
that's pretty stout. That's some high level knowledge right there.
And a couple of ladies that have just can lay it to you.
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
I have been beat by Tracy Harold so many times. It's not even funny.
You know what keeps me up at night? Having to face one of those ladies at the V2 finale. Seriously.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
you know, oh my God, they're just so calm and collected. And they'll just stomp on your freaking face if you let them. Oh, my
They're
God.
pros. They're absolute pros.
Yeah. But
and she's not afraid to let me know that I got beat by a girl again.
Oh no, I think maybe that's the worst part. It's what follows after the loss. It's not over there. It's you don't lose and it's over. It starts. That's where it really starts.
Right. And and my wife gives it to me as well. I mean, her and Tracy are good friends, and she roots for Tracy every chance she gets. I mean, she's very supportive for me. Obviously, I couldn't do what I do without Sharon's help and support.
Yeah.
But anytime I get beat by Tracy, she grins pretty big.
Yeah, Tracy, again, freaking powerhouse, man. It's it's so hard. You can't avoid winning, right? When you're hanging around people like that.
No, it's an absolute honor to be, teammates with these guys now. And for me, and I told Norm this earlier, I said, we were out shooting, and afterward he said, I'd have probably, done this or done that. And I'm like, please continue to coach me. I mean, to me, this is an opportunity to learn and to get better. And that's what I want to continue to do, is to continue to get better, because I haven't arrived. I'm still very new. These guys are so much more experienced than I am. And I just want to continue to get better, become a better shooter.
Yeah, it's but yeah, man, that's great. Like I said, you just keep being surrounded by really knowledgeable people, and obviously they enjoy having you around, which is very beneficial, right? Because they want you to do well. And now, I mean, hell, they wanted you to do well before you were even teammates. Imagine now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a great group of guys. That's and ladies.
Yep.
And again, like I mentioned, I always enjoy hanging out with them. They're just good people. Coming up, anybody that's new, I mean, I think we covered it all. Get a mentor, get on a team, put in the work, listen to the mentor, test, go to different ranges. Don't be afraid to lose. Work on the mental game.
Lather, rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
Lather, rinse, repeat. Just keep at it.
Yeah.
And, and we're in a time now where, I think, you and Norm were talking a little bit about this in your interview, but one of you made the comment that, in the early days, if you showed up with a good rifle, you had 80% of the crowd beat, right? Well, that's not the case anymore. I mean, if you don't show up with a good rifle, you don't have a chance. You've got to show up with a good rifle, and then you've got to put all the pieces together, and then everything has to go your way. I mean, I don't know of anybody that can set their mind to go out and win any event they go to. I mean, a lot of things have to just go your way to walk away with a win, especially at these larger events.
A good rifle is just the minimum requirement nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
It is you just got to have a good rifle, and everybody seems like everybody does. I mean, not everybody, but the majority of the shooters there. So that is the minimum entry fee. Good rifle. Mm-hmm. On top of that, you got to have the mental fortitude, the wind reading ability, the experience to be able to not crumble under a wind change, right? Because you got this wind figured out, and you like to only shoot in that wind. All of a sudden, it switches on you, and you stop, and you're running out of time. You got to jump in. Well, that's where that experience comes in to go. Well, you know what? I haven't been shooting in this wind condition, but now I have to. How do I jump in to give myself the highest possible chance of hitting a 10, right? And if you don't hit a 10, to have the mental fortitude to not crumble after you hit a 9 or an 8, to be able to go, got it, and move over and just shoot your way out of there, right? Because
it
is it's a tough game, but I think it's very rewarding.
Oh, it's incredibly rewarding. I have no regrets about starting F class. I've just, loved it. Had a lot of great times. I love the competition. I gained a great life friend out of it. It's been very rewarding for me.
It's all good stuff, man. Well, I appreciate you being on the show and telling us about your experience. Like I said, 2.5 years and national champion, man. That's there's a lot of work that had to go into that.
Well, I have worked hard over the last couple of years, but I just had a good weekend. Things went my way.
Well, yeah. Why not, right?
Yeah.
All right. Who would you recommend that I have on the show next?
Good question. Barry Holcomb.
All right.
I talked to Barry Holcomb or Jim Fowler. I mean, those guys are just they're great shooters. They're great guys, and I tell you, from at mid range, there ain't probably anybody any better than those two. They're awful tough to beat.
Yeah, both of them former. I'm going to emphasize former teammates of yours. Great people. No, they're great guys, yeah. And I agree with you. Like it's you can name 20 people, maybe more that you wouldn't be a fool to put your money on them to win at any match.
Absolutely not.
It's like, man, it's anybody's match, and it's just, and every now and then you have the rookies now that, back in the day, it was hardly ever a rookie winning because it takes a lot of parts to put it together. But as the sport has advanced and the level of competition and mentorship and teams and all that stuff, people are starting to put all this, like yourself, put it all together much more efficiently in a shorter time span.
I think you have a little bit to do with that. Look at the resources that are available on your channel, on your site. I know of some newer guys that consume all of that, and they have gone. There's a local guy here. I won't name his name, but I can tell you at some point you're going to ask me, was that guy you were talking about? And I'm going to say, yep. At some point, he's going to do something special. He's a rifle shop customer of mine. I built him a few rifles, and he's driven. He's good. He'll get there.
Oh yeah. Well, I was going to say, I think a rookie is now. It used to be 3 years, maybe 4 years. I think a rookie now is like 6 months, a year maybe, and after that, it's just, just again the knowledge is being crunched in such a way that if you're willing to put in the work, you're only a rookie for about a year, and after that, it's they could win. Hell, inside of a year, they could win anything. Sometimes they just show up and just absolutely destroy.
Yeah,
and it also has to do with conditions, right? Because you have a rookie that literally maybe can find his way around a gun and things of that nature, and maybe been shooting for 6 months, and they just show up with an absolute hammer, and the conditions are such that it's dead calm, they could win.
Yeah,
right. Of course,
absolutely.
that's the beauty about a national championship that expands 2 or 3 days. There's enough time there to mix in some different conditions. But if somebody has a really good gun and they could put 3 days together with dead calm conditions, they could win it. So
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna say rookies. I'm gonna give a rookie a year. If they're more than a year, I'm no longer gonna call them a rookie because they're not.
That's probably accurate in this day and age.
All right, Shane. Thank you very much for being on, man. Take care.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Keep them centered.
Take care.